Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, obviously still on the road, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about some obvious news here, and that is Microsoft Copilot has way more access to companies and organizations than it ever should have, or any AI for that matter, if we're really thinking this through. So Wayne Williams of Tech Radar had a really good write-up on this, and I want to go through this because essentially Concentric AI's 2025 data risk report found that Microsoft Copilot had accessed almost 3 million confidential records per organization in the first half of this year alone. And we're not done with the year, right? So for context, that figure represents roughly 55% of all files being shared externally by these organizations. And the findings are based on aggregated data from Concentric AI's customers across multiple industries. We're talking tech, healthcare, government, financial, et cetera, et cetera. The report also noted that confidential company information makes up the majority of these files that are being shared across businesses. On average, 57% of organization-wide shared data contained some kind of privileged information. In the financial services sector and in healthcare, that jumped to about 70% as well. So organizations are leaving huge amounts of data exposed and obviously accessible by Copilot when, quite frankly, you probably shouldn't have this level of access, right? Basically, on average, there was an average of 2 million critical business records per organization that were shared with no restrictions, working out to about half of unrestricted data overall. So more than 400,000 records on average, for example, were shared with personal accounts, meaning are you basically allowing your Gmail account to get access to this, that kind of thing? And over 60% of those included confidential information. So Microsoft Copilot activity then is obviously supercharging these worries because the report found basically that organizations averaged more than 3,000 interactions with Copilot during which sensitive business information could have been modified or exposed to Copilot. And this really underscores and illustrates the risk that enterprises are facing when they're securing valuable data as basically generative AIs and large language models like the Copilots become more and more integrated into their daily operations. So that report also pointed to broader data management problems as well, not to mention duplicate, stale, orphan records. Organizations in the survey sample held an average of 10 million duplicate data records and nearly 7 million older than 10 years, obviously going stale. Orphan and inactive user data accounted for millions more. And the bottom line of this whole mess, and I will quote Wayne Williams of Tech Radar directly. I've been riffing off him and paraphrasing him here, but I'll quote him right now because, quite frankly, I think this really sums it up. Oversharing, excessive permissions, and uncontrolled Gen AI use combine to increase risk, and without stronger governance, Concentric AI says organizations could struggle to protect intellectual property, financial information, and personal data, end quote. And this is one of the big issues, as we've all been rushing to adopt AI. Now, obviously, there's going to be a huge chunk of people that just use AI to, I don't know, to have an AI girlfriend or boyfriend or to ask it very specific questions. But when you are integrating it into business operations and giving it access to sensitive data, it is very important to understand that, one, this can misread or misinterpret things. Two, who is the maker of the AI? In this case, we know it's Microsoft, but what level of access would a Microsoft have? Remember, AIs need data to train, and they need a lot of information. And so it's a very hard sell, even for a Microsoft that has a much better reputation than like a Google for data privacy, for them to come out and say, we're not going to train our co-pilots on any of your data. You know, that is of deep concern. And so having those kinds of assurances are really important. Now, there are different levels that you can get with Copilot, in Microsoft. There's Azure AI. There's a whole bunch of other things that they can do on the Fed level. Even Google has these things as well, where they show you how they can lock it down so that no support engineers on Google or Microsoft have access to this, et cetera, et cetera. But most companies aren't going that road, and most companies aren't paying that level for that level of privacy. And so if you're just integrating the standard Microsoft Copilot and it's going through all of your data, you really got to think through that risk, and you really have to understand the privacy implications therein. So I'll leave it at that. But as we move as fast as humanly possible to adopt AI into literally everything that we are doing, we should probably take a step back and just see, should we? And if we are, how do we isolate our private stuff that nobody no AI, no other person should read. It's kind of important. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please, 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 remember to stay private, informed, and secure. Take care.